The first time I ever met Eleanor Vale, she was 5 years old, sitting cross-legged on the floor, staring at a vase like it had personally offended her. And I remember thinking, well, kids are weird. What I didn't know then was that Eleanor wasn't staring at the vase. She was asking it to move. Because a second later, the damn thing slid. Just a few inches. Enough for everyone in the room to go quiet. Her mother gasped, her older sister laughed nervously, and a young man standing nearby looked down at the vase, then back at the child, confused but smiling, like they just witnessed a magic trick and didn't they want to admit it scared him. That young man was Nathaniel Crowe. And Eleanor, she would grow up to marry him. She knew that too. Not in words. Not the way adults know things. It was more like the way you know it's about to rain before the clouds show up. Eleanor had that kind of knowing. From the very beginning. Nathaniel didn't notice her, of course. Why would he? He was hopelessly in love with Eleanor's sister, Margaret. Tall, warm laugh, as that pulled you in without trying. Margaret was the kind of woman who made you feel like the world might turn out okay after all. Nathaniel loved her the way young men love like it's the last thing they'll ever do right. They were talking about marriage that day. Quietly, politely, like people who believed life rewarded good intentions. Eleanor, meanwhile, kept nudging the vase closer to him, inch by inch, as if to say, hey. I'm here too, remember me later. Her mother snapped at her, told her to behave, to stop being strange. Eleanor smiled sweetly. And pushed the vase back again. People in the village had already started whispering about her by then. Said she saw things. Felt things. Knew when someone was about to get sick, or when a storm was coming, or when a letter with bad news was still days away. They came to her door with their worries, their prayers disguised as favors. And Eleanor helped. Always did. But that afternoon, right after the vase incident, she suddenly clutched her chest like the air had been pulled out of the room, screamed once, sharp and raw, and collapsed into her sister's arms. Margaret held her, rocking her gently, whispering it was okay. Eleanor leaned in close and whispered back, barely loud enough to hear. Death is coming to this house. Margaret laughed it off. Kissed her hair. Told her not to say such things. The next evening, at a small dinner party meant to celebrate the upcoming engagement, someone slipped poison into Eleanor's father's wine. Politics. Old grudges. Men who smiled during the day and sharpened knives at night. But the glass was handed to Margaret instead. By the time Eleanor felt that cold certainty crawl up her spine again, her sister was already lying still in bed, eyes half open, mouth frozen mid-breath. Used like that. Margaret was gone. And something inside Eleanor broke so quietly no one noticed until much later. The house filled with doctors, officials, neighbors pretending to be shocked. The official report said poison, yes, but Eleanor's father insisted on an autopsy. He needed facts. Needed proof. Needed something solid to hold on to. Eleanor followed them into the room. She wasn't supposed to be there. But no one stopped her. She stood there, small hands clenched, watching strangers open her sister's body like it was an object, not a person she had loved since before she could remember. Something in her chest twisted. She had seen the death coming. She had warned them. And it didn't matter. That night, Eleanor stopped speaking. Not out of shock. Not out of fear. Out of punishment. She believed her gift was useless. Worse than useless. A cruel joke that let her see disaster without ever changing it. So she sealed it away behind silence. Years passed. Nathaniel Crowe, unaware of any of this, was already far from town, deep underground, swinging a pickaxe in a gold mine that barely paid enough to keep him alive. He had left to earn money for a wedding that would never happen. The time he returned, pockets heavy, hands scarred, dreams intact. Margaret was in the ground. Nathaniel did what men like him often do when grief knocks the wind out of them. He ran. He bought land far from memories. Built a ranch with money earned through blood and sweat. Hired men who feared him more than they respected him. Ruled with a clenched fist and a loaded gun. And somehow, that worked. The ranch grew. The money multiplied. The house turned into an estate with wide balconies and marble floors that echoed when he walked alone at night. He never married. When desire showed up, he paid for it. When loneliness lingered, he drank it down. Love, he decided, was a risk they already paid for. More than 20 years later, he received a letter. His sister had written to say their mother had passed. Come home, it's sad. Used 11. The funeral was small. Quiet. Almost embarrassingly so. And there she was. Eleanor Vale. Not a child anymore. Though. Calm. Eyes steady in a way that made Nathaniel uncomfortable without knowing why. She looked like Margaret, but softer somehow, like the sharp edges of grief had been sanded down by time. He watched her from across the room, and a thought slipped into his mind uninvited. If I can't have the woman I love, maybe I can have the life that was meant to be. The next morning, Nathaniel showed up at Eleanor's family home and asked for her hand. Her parents were stunned. Relief. Grateful. Their daughter had been silent for over 2 decades. Estranged. Feared. They assumed she would live alone forever. But the decision wasn't theirs. It was Eleanor's. She already knew the answer. She accepted. And on their wedding day, Eleanor spoke again. Used one sentence. Yes. After that, the words came back slowly, like birds returning after a long winter. Life with Nathaniel was unexpected. It was gentle with her in a way no one else ever had been. As if he believed she was made of glass and light. When she lifted furniture with her mind without thinking, he simply placed it back down, smiling softly, like it was the most normal thing in the world. It gave her a bracelet, emerald green, worth more than some people made in a lifetime. They rode horses at sunset. Kissed under orange skies. Laughed quietly in corners of the house that once echoed with his loneliness. For a while, it felt like maybe fate had made a mistake and was trying to apologize. But there was another presence in that house. Nathaniel's sister, Lydia. She moved in under the excuse of family, but what she carried with her was something darker. An attention that lingered too long. A need that didn't understand boundaries. At first, she hated Eleanor. Then she needed her. Then she wanted her. And Eleanor, kind to a fault, promised to take care of her forever. That promise would cost everyone more than they knew. Because this story was never really about gifts, or ghosts, or politics. It was about love. And what happens when people confuse love with control. And that was only the beginning. Eleanor's marriage to Nathaniel looked peaceful from the outside, the kind of life people point at and say, see, it all worked out in the end, but peace, real peace, is never something you inherit, it's something you renegotiate every single day, and Nathaniel Crowe had never been good at renegotiating anything. Still, for a long while, they managed. Eleanor moved through the estate like a soft wind, changing things without force, without commands. She listened more than she spoke, which people mistook for weakness. In truth, it was discipline. She had learned early that words could make pain permanent. Nathaniel, on the other hand, spoke with his whole body. His voice, his boots, his temper. He didn't mean to be cruel, not consciously. He just believed that order had to be enforced, that if he loosened his grip even a little, the world would take everything from him again. Their daughter, Lucia, was born on a quiet afternoon, with Eleanor come through the whole thing, as distant, like she was already memorizing the moment for later. Nathaniel cried when he held the baby. That surprised everyone. Even him. For a few years, the house felt alive in a way it never had before. Laughter echoed down the halls. Nathaniel came home earlier. Lydia watched from the edges, smiling too hard, staying too long. Lucia grew up barefoot and curious, always asking why, always wanting to know how things worked. Eleanor encouraged it. Nathaniel tolerated it, as long as curiosity didn't turn into defiance. When Lucia was old enough, Eleanor opened a small school on the estate. Nothing official. Used a few desks, a chalkboard, and a belief that children deserved more than the lives they were born into. She taught the servants, children how to read, how to write, how to question. Nathaniel hated it at first. Said it would give them ideas. Eleanor smiled and said, ideas were already there, education just taught them how to use them. Among those children was a boy named Thomas Hale. Son of the estate's head groundskeeper. Quiet. Sharp-eyed. The kind of kid who listened like he was saving information for later. Thomas learned fast. Faster than Eleanor expected. She saw something in him. A future tangled with her doctors. Not tragedy, not exactly. More like, consequence. She doubled down on his education. Lucia and Thomas grew up together. Running through fields. Whispering secrets by the river. Holding hands before either of them knew what holding hands really meant. Nathaniel noticed. Didn't they like it? To him, Thomas was a reminder of everything he'd climbed away from. Poverty. Powerlessness. Men who worked until their backs broke and still died forgotten. Warned Eleanor. Once. Then twice. She didn't listen. So he sent Lucia away. A boarding school in the city. Expensive. Strict. Far enough that childhood attachments would dry up and blow away. Lucia cried. Eleanor didn't argue. She kissed her doctor's forehead and told her something she'd learned the hard way. So me loves wait. They did. Every holiday, Lucia found her way back to the river. Thomas was always there. Taller. Stronger. More certain. When they were older, the meetings became secret. Lucia would slip out of her bedroom window at night, barefoot, heart pounding, laughing under her breath as she ran through the dark. Nathaniel never knew. Or maybe he did, and chose not to see it yet. Thomas grew into a man who believed the world could be fairer. That people who worked the land should own it. That children shouldn't inherit hunger. He started organizing meetings. Quiet at first. Then louder. Nathaniel heard. One afternoon, he rode out with a gun on his hip and anger in his chest and found Thomas speaking to a group of workers, voice steady, hands open. Talking about rights. Days off. Dignity. Nathaniel didn't fire the gun. He didn't have to. His presence was enough. The crowd scattered. Thomas stayed. They stared at each other, two men shaped by opposite ends of the same brutality. Nathaniel told him to leave the estate. Thomas said no. That was the moment everything tipped. Nathaniel entered politics not because he loved it, but because it gave him something he understood, leverage. He backed the Conservative Party, poured money into campaigns, spoke about tradition and order and the dangers of change. At the same time, he made plans for Lucia. A marriage. Strategic. Clean. To a foreign count who liked her beauty and didn't ask many questions. Lucia refused. Nathaniel didn't hear refusal well. The night everything exploded started quietly. Dinner. Wine. Polite conversation. Lucia slipped out afterward. Met Thomas by the river. They talked about leaving. About starting over somewhere no one knew their last names. They didn't know they were being watched. The count saw them. Followed them. Felt humiliated. It went straight to Nathaniel. Nathaniel rode out again, this time with a whip instead of a gun. Thomas was gone by the time he arrived. Lucia wasn't there. What happened next broke something that never healed. Nathaniel struck his daughter. When Eleanor stepped between them, he struck her too. The sound echoed through the house like a gunshot. Silence followed. Eleanor didn't scream. Didn't cry. She looked at him the way you look at a stranger who has just told you who they really are. She told him she would never speak to him again. And she didn't. The next morning, she took Lucia and left. The house emptied fast after that. Staff resigned. The groundskeeper quit. Even Lydia disappeared into the city, leaving behind nothing but a locked room and a sense of unfinished business. Nathaniel blamed Thomas. He blamed politics. He blamed change. He blamed everyone except the man in the mirror. He put a bounty on Thomas' head. No one turned him in. The only one who tried was a boy who shared Nathaniel's blood, born of a mistake years earlier, raised in resentment. Nathaniel paid him nothing and called him a coward. Soon after, word spread that Lucia was pregnant. Nathaniel panicked. He offered everything to the count. Money. Land. Legacy. Used give the child a name. Lucia said no. Nathaniel left. Told her Thomas was dead. She believed him. She stopped eating. Stopped speaking. Eleanor sat with her every night, hands on her doctor's belly, whispering truths that sounded impossible. Es alive. You see. Trust me. Lucia did. Then she asked a question Eleanor had been waiting for her whole life. Why did you marry him? Eleanor smiled sadly. Because love isn't always gentle. Sometimes it's just stubborn. Because I saw his light before I ever saw his darkness. Because I chose him. And I choose him still. Even now. Dime passed. Slowly. Painfully. Nathaniel lost the election. The conservatives fell hard. The world moved forward without asking his permission. His wealth was seized. His allies vanished. Still, Eleanor waited for him every night. And one evening, gray-haired, hollow-eyed, he walked into her mother's house, took off his hat, and apologized until he had nothing left to say. She didn't answer. She raised her hand. And let him sit. For a while, it felt like maybe forgiveness was enough. It wasn't. Because history though didn't pause for reconciliation. And the violence Nathaniel once believed he controlled was already on its way back, looking for blood. He used to think the hardest part was surviving the storm, but I was wrong. The hardest part was standing still after it passed, when everything went quiet and you were left alone with the truth, the kind of truth that don't yell at you, it just sits there, patient, waiting for you to finally look at it. The house felt different after that night. Not empty exactly, used, honest. Like it had finally stopped pretending to be something it wasn't. Morning light crept in through the blinds, thin and pale, cutting across the floor where they stood the night before, where voices had cracked and things had finally been said out loud, the kind of things you keep buried because once they're free, there is no putting them back. He stood in the kitchen with a mug of coffee I didn't really want, staring at the sink, replaying everything, the way people do when they already know how it ends but still wish the middle had gone differently. Clyde came down the stairs quietly, no rush, no performance, just the soft sound of bare feet on wood. She looked smaller somehow, not weak, just unarmored, like someone who had finally set a heavy shield down after carrying it for too long. She didn't say good morning. Neither did I, and somehow that felt right. She sat at the table, wrapped her hands around the mug I slid toward her, and after a long moment she said, I don't know how to be the person I was pretending to be. He nodded, because I didn't either. That was the moment I understood something important, something I wish I'd learned years earlier, love don't end in explosions most of the time, it ends in quiet realizations, in two people finally admitting they're tired of hurting each other in slow, invisible ways. We didn't make any big declarations that morning, no promises, no dramatic decisions, just an agreement to stop lying, even if the truth hurt, especially if it hurt. The next few weeks felt like walking through fog, not knowing what shape the future would take, only knowing it wouldn't look like the past. People around us noticed before we said anything. Friends asked careful questions, co-workers tilted their heads a little longer when they looked at me, like they were trying to read something new in my face. My mom called one night and asked if I was sleeping okay, the kind of question that wasn't really about sleep. He started running again, early mornings, empty streets, just me and my breath and the sound of my feet hitting pavement. It was the only time my thoughts stopped chasing me, the only place where the noise settled into something manageable. One morning, halfway through my usual loop, I saw Marcus sitting on a park bench, coffee in one hand, newspaper folded in the other, like he stepped out of a scene meant to test me. He almost kept running. Instead, I slowed down. He looked up, surprised, then gave a small, cautious smile, the kind people give when they know they're not welcome but hope they're not chased away either. Didn't they think they see you, he said. Didn't they think they stop, I replied. We sat there longer than either of us planned, not talking much at first, just two men sharing a quiet truce neither of us had formally agreed to. He apologized, not the grand, self-pitying kind, just a simple, I didn't mean to be the person who hurt you. He told him something I hadn't expected to say, you weren't the reason things broke, you were just the crack that showed they already were. He nodded like he already knew that, like he'd been carrying his own version of guilt around long before I ever noticed him. When I left, I didn't feel victorious or relieved, just lighter, like he sat down a weight I didn't realize he'd been holding. That was when real healing started, not when the conflict ended, but when I stopped needing someone to blame. Clyde and I eventually sat down on a Sunday afternoon, sunlight pouring in through the windows, dust floating lazily in the air, and we talked about what came next. Not about fixing things. About honoring what they had been. We cried, both of us, quietly, no drama, no anger, just grief for the version of us that tried its best and still fell short. So many love stories don't end because of betrayal, they end because people grow in different directions and forget to check if the other person is still walking beside them. We decided to let go with respect. And that hurt more than fighting ever did. Packing up years of shared life is a strange kind of pain. Every object carries a memory, a version of you that once laughed harder, hoped bigger, believed longer. The last thing I took from the house was a photo, the one from that rainy road trip, hair soaked, smiles wide, proof that the love had been real, even if it wasn't forever. He moved into a smaller place across town, nothing fancy, just enough space to breathe, to rebuild, to sit with myself without distraction. The first night there, surrounded by boxes, I lay on the floor and stared at the ceiling, listening to the unfamiliar sounds of the building settling, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel afraid of being alone. Weeks turned into months. Life didn't magically improve, it softened, it gave me room to become someone more honest, someone who listened instead of assumed, who asked instead of expected. I met people, new friends, old friends rediscovered, conversations that went deeper because I finally let them, laughter that felt earned, not forced. And then one evening, at a small neighborhood gathering, I met Lily. No lightning bolt, no dramatic slow motion moment, just a quiet conversation that kept going longer than it needed to. She listened in a way that made you feel seen, not evaluated. She laughed with her whole face, not just her mouth, and when I told her about my past, she didn't flinch, didn't try to fix it, just nodded and said, "That sounds like it mattered." And it did. We took things slow, intentionally, like people who knew the cost of rushing, who understood that love isn't proven by speed but by consistency. Being with her didn't erase the past, it respected it, built around it, allowed it to exist without defining the future. One night, months later, sitting on her balcony, city lights humming softly below us, she asked, "Do you ever regret it?" I thought about Claire, about Marcus, about the house, the pain, the lessons. And I said, "I regret staying silent longer than I should have, but I don't regret loving fully, even when it ended." Because that was the truth. Love isn't measured by how long it lasts, but by how deeply it changes you. Looking back now, I see the story differently. Not as a failure, not as something that broke me, but as a turning point, the moment my life stopped happening to me and started being shaped by me. If you're listening to this and you're in the middle of your own quiet storm, feeling like something is slipping through your fingers and you don't know whether to hold tighter or let go, I want you to know this: endings are not the opposite of love. Sometimes they're proof that it existed at all. Thank you for staying with me through this story. If it resonated with you, if it reminded you of your own journey, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Share your story, your perspective, your lessons, and if you found meaning here, don't forget to like and share this video so others can find it too. And truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for listening all the way to the end.